Okay, so I'm going to be real with you. I haven't slept properly in a few days because of this story. And I keep thinking about Stephanie Sue standing on those courthouse steps, probably having no idea what she's walking into. So, what happened to her wasn't just some weird fan encounter. This was something way more calculated, and honestly, it made me rethink everything about what it means to be an independent journalist in 2025. By the time we're done here, you're going to see fan interactions completely differently. Trust me on this one. So here's what this looked like from the outside and why it fooled everyone at first. Stephanie Sue, right? Millions of subscribers, known for these incredible deep dives into true crime. She decides to cover the Diddy case, which honestly makes perfect sense. She's always been amazing at finding the human psychology behind these big cases. From where we're sitting, this seemed totally normal. Creator goes to courthouse, takes notes, shares her perspective with us. The comments were supportive. People were thanking her for the coverage. Everything looked fine in the end. But there was this one detail that stuck with me. She mentioned it almost casually, how Diddy kept staring at her, making this gesture, mouthing, "I know you." It was such a small thing in her overall coverage, but something about it bothered me. You know that feeling when someone's watching you and your skin just crawls? When you're trying to do your job, but there's this undercurrent of something's not right here. What I discovered when I really dug into this changed everything for me. Not just about the case, but about how power works when it feels threatened by independent voices. This isn't just celebrity drama, this is about survival in the creator economy when you accidentally become inconvenient to the wrong people. So let me walk through what I found because I think we all need to understand what we're really dealing with here. Alright, let me tell you why this caught my attention in the first place. I've been following Stephanie's work for a while now, and she has a gift for getting to the heart of human behavior in every story she covers. When she said she was covering the Diddy case, I was genuinely excited to hear her take on it. When I first heard about the fan interactions, my brain went to the obvious place. Popular creator, a high-profile case. Of course people are going to approach you. But then I started paying attention to how she describes these encounters. The specific questions they were asking, when they were happening, how persistent they were. Over 2 weeks at the courthouse, 8 or 9 different people approached her team. But here's the thing, they weren't asking for selfies. They weren't gushing about her content. They were asking where she was staying, how she got to the courthouse, who was on her team. You know that gut feeling when someone's asking you questions that sound innocent, but something feels off? Like when a stranger wants to know too much about your routine? That's what was happening here, except it wasn't random. It was systematic. The more I pieced together the patterns, the more I realized we weren't looking at casual fan encounters. This looked like reconnaissance. Like someone was gathering intelligence on her operation, and they were good at it. The thing is, this was just the beginning. What I learned next completely changed how I think about courtroom security and journalist protection. While these fans were collecting information outside, something even more disturbing was happening inside the courtroom. Diddy himself was engaging in what multiple people described as deliberate intimidation towards Stephanie. Picture this for a second. You're sitting in a courtroom doing your job. The defendant, someone facing serious federal charges, he's making eye contact with you. Not casual glances, long, intentional stares. And when you notice, he makes this gesture, mouths, "I know you." Here's the part that really gets me. This only happened when the jury wasn't in the room. Think about that. Someone smart enough to know exactly when it was safe to intimidate someone without messing up their trial. Have you ever been in a situation where someone was threatening you without actually saying anything threatening? Where you felt genuinely scared but couldn't really explain why to other people? That's textbook psychological intimidation, creating fear while maintaining plausible deniability. And look, Stephanie isn't some rookie. She's covered dangerous stories before. She knows the risks that come with true crime content. For her to feel genuinely threatened and keep changing her security protocols, that tells us we're dealing with something way beyond typical creator harassment. What this showed me is how sophisticated intimidation has become. It's not about direct threats anymore. It's about creating this climate of fear through systematic psychological pressure and information gathering that technically doesn't cross legal lines, but gets the same result: controlling or silencing media coverage. But what happened next made me realize we were still missing the bigger picture. Here's where everything clicked in place for me, and I want you to really think about this because it reveals something profound about how power operates in 2025. When I mapped out all the incidents Stephanie described, a pattern emerged that goes way beyond random fan interactions or even typical celebrity harassment. Those 8 or 9 different people over 2 weeks, each asking specific operational questions, security experts call this reconnaissance by multiple actors. Here's what's really happening. Someone with serious resources was conducting systematic intelligence gathering on an independent journalist covering a high-profile trial. They wanted to know her routes, her team, her security measures, her emotional state. The sophistication becomes clear when you look at the attempted bag access incident. Someone approached Stephanie under the guise of being friendly, physically hugged her, and during that hug, tried to assess her personal belongings. I need you to understand what this could mean. We live in a world where tracking devices are smaller than AirTags, where surveillance technology is available to anyone with money. The possibility of someone planting monitoring equipment during a physical interaction is very real. When I understood this level of coordination, I felt this wave of not just concern for Stephanie, but recognition of something bigger. Because this isn't about one creator or one trial. This is about the evolution of power dynamics in the digital age, when independent journalists can reach millions of people and potentially influence public opinion about powerful figures. Traditional methods of media control don't work anymore. You can't call a CEO and have someone fired. You can't pressure advertisers to post support. So what do? You make the personal cost too high. You turn journalism into a safety risk. You create fear where there used to be freedom. And this brings us to the part that keeps me awake. What this taught me is that we're witnessing the birth of a new form of media intimidation designed specifically for the creator economy. We live in a world where traditional journalism is struggling, where independent creators are filling the gaps, where someone with a smartphone and a story can reach more people than established media outlets. But what happens when those creators become inconvenient? I keep thinking about how Stephanie decided to continue her coverage despite everything, the courage that took. But I also think about all the creators who might not have made that choice. How many stories might have went untold because personal cost becomes too high? I also wonder if you've ever felt that way, where doing the right thing, speaking truth, standing up for what matters, comes with risk you never saw coming, where your safety becomes the price of your voice. So, this isn't just about creators with millions of followers. This is about the chilling effect on anyone who might challenge power. The blogger writing about local corruption, the TikToker exposing workplace abuse, the podcaster investigating community issues. What Stephanie experienced is a blueprint that could be used against any independent voice that becomes inconvenient. The systematic information gathering, the psychological intimidation, the professional level coordination, these tactics can be scaled up or down. But here's what I learned from watching how she handles this. Transparency becomes protection. By documenting and sharing these experiences, by refusing to be silenced, she turned intimidation tactics into public education about how these systems work. Which brings me to what this means for all of us. In the end, this story isn't really about Stephanie Sue, as everyone I talk about. It's about the price of telling truth when information is power and independent voices can threaten established interests. It's about how courage looks different now. It's not about physical bravery, it's psychological resilience in the face of sophisticated intimidation designed to make you question your own perceptions and doubt your right to speak. What strikes me the most about Stephanie's response is that she didn't let fear change who she is. She adapted her security, yes. She changed her protocols, absolutely. But she continued approaching her coverage with the same empathy and commitment to understanding human psychology that makes her work valuable. I don't have all the answers about how we protect independent journalism in this new landscape, but I know this. Awareness is the first step towards resistance. Understanding how these tactics work makes them less effective. When we recognize systematic intimidation for what it is, when we support creators who face these risks, when we refuse to let fear dictate what stories get told, that's how we preserve space for truth-telling. Maybe that's enough for now. Maybe understanding that real journalism has always required courage is the first step towards creating a world where that courage is protected rather than exploited. So, what do you think? Have you noticed these patterns in how powerful interests respond to coverage they don't like? How do we balance safety with the importance of speaking truth? I'd love to hear your thoughts as always, especially if you're a creator who's faced anything like this, because the more we share these experiences, the harder it becomes for intimidation to work in the shadows. The story continues, and so does the work of understanding it. Anyway, thanks for going on this journey with me. Stay cozy, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.